Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof!
G'day, how the bloody hell are you all going? It's Dry That Aussie Metal Guy here with Crank.com. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it was a great pleasure that I'm getting to have a chat with one half of, correct me if I say this wrong, Missouri-based instrumental duo Sisters of, who are known for their emotionally charged soundscapes that do blend post-metal intensity with some post-rock introspection. Aaron and Chris have crafted a unique space in the music world. Their latest release, Michel, is a two-movement EP that takes listeners on a profound and emotional journey through the themes of loss, grief, anger, and catharsis. It was released via Crowquill Records. It is a 17-minute piece that does showcase their ability to construct intricate cinematic compositions that do resonate through emotional feelings as well. Chris, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here and chat with you.
Absolute pleasure, man. We'll go right back to the start. Can you tell me how this kind of all come together for you guys to form Sisters of, and what
Sure.
was the initial vision of the band?
Okay, so yeah, Aaron and I are lifelong friends. We've been friends since we were like 12 or 13 years old and grew up together. Both played in bands growing up, but never really played together. And just, we our musical careers kind of like continued to grow. Aaron went on to play drums in a band called the Appleseed Cast. He played drums in a band called Reggie and the Full Effect. I played guitar in a band called Blackpool Lights. They're all kind of like local, from our area of the country. We're up right in the middle of the United States. So bands like from this area, we got to tour and travel a lot, did some touring together. And then Aaron and I did have one band in like the early 2000s. And that did for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years, something like that, kind of fell apart. But he and I always kind of wrote together, and we always just had the two of us would just kind of send like, hey, I wrote this guitar part. Do you like it? Do you think you could come up with something against it? Or, hey, can you put drums to this? Just kind of back and forth. And it just kind of grew that way. So with the way that it started in this direction, going like more on the heavier side of things, we're both big metalheads. We both love bands like Russian Circles, ISIS, Cult of Luna, Slayer, Malevolent Creation, all the old like early death metal. I mean, we love all that shit. So I was at his apartment, I think, and he was like, I came up with a couple of these riffs. What do you think? And I was like, shit, that's really cool. And he was just like, should we do something with it? And I was like, yeah, all right, let's try. So we did, and that ended up being our first EP, the Follow Me as a Ghost.
Yep. 2013.
He popped that on like Bandcamp, I think. And BJ from Crowquill found it and reached out and was just like, I want to put out your record. We were like, okay. And so it just kind of went on from there. And then the second record, The Serpent, The Angel and the Adversary, we really like sat down and took our time and really tried to like, we're going to put together a full record. Let's really do this. BJ, agreed that he would put it out and do like the vinyl release and do all that. So we take forever to write. It's just two of us, and we're both lazy. So
and we all have lives outside of this. Let's be a little bit more like juggling families,
exactly.
kids,
jobs
as well. So
yeah, we both work full time. Aaron's got kids, so like So put that record out, and then we kind of would do like a song here or there over the years, and then I don't know, it was about a year ago. We were just talking. It's like, why don't we just pick this up and do this again? And Aaron we live across the street from each other. Like we talk pretty much every day. We live across the street from each other. It's like, we should probably get off our asses and do this. So that kind of what led us to today. I had the initial ideas, kind of riffs, like very poorly structured for these two songs, and sent it to him and was like, what do you think? Can you do something with this? And then it just kind of started going back and forth, and that's how we got it, and sent it to BJ, and he was like, yeah, I'll put it up.
So what was that like, that initial kind of coming together? Because I love a good instrumental, man. Like, I can just sit there and get totally lost. What was that like for you guys to have that kind of freedom? You know what I mean? You two guys just getting in together and creating and crafting music, but crafting these soundscapes for these emotions and what you're feeling, and kind of just not having, the constraints of a vocalist, or going, oh, we've got to play this. We're a metalcore band, so we've got to play a metalcore beat, or we're a death metal
Right.
band, we've got to play a death metal band. What was it like initially getting in there and going, man, let's just do something instrumental and let the music portray what we're feeling?
It was really that you really kind of said it. That's really what it was. It was just we have these kind of cool ideas or these cool riffs. Can we weave them together, and then really play off of bands that have been influential to us either our whole lives or like what we've been listening to recently, like a lot of the really like atmospheric sort of like ethereal ambient stuff. A lot of that comes from like we love bands like Sigur Rós and like super airy shit like that. So like that's our how we tip our hat to them, or like Mogwai and bands like that. So it it was very freeing, I would say, and it's been very freeing in not having to do that, verse chorus, bridge chorus in sort of formula. We just write, and like the song just kind of ends when we're like, yeah, I think it's done. Like, and then we just move on. So it's have a lot of freedom. It can be challenging. I mean, one of these songs is 10 minutes long. We didn't know when to stop it. So it can be challenging in that respect, but it's just very freeing. And when you're writing, you have to kind of think differently when you're writing, because there isn't like a set sort of like formula, like I say, or there isn't an expectation. It's just, let's just put something together that we think sounds cool, that we like how it sounds. And if we like it, then cool. We hope other people do too. We are huge critics on ourselves. Or if I send Aaron something, he'll just text me back and be like, "That sucks." So like, so we feel like if it passes both of our like thumbs up, like okay, let's go with it. So it's fun. It can be challenging, but it's also it's nice to have a ton of freedom and just do.
And that's different too than like being in a solo band, because that'd be the hardest, man. Like I think that's human nature to be overly critical on
Mhm.
ourselves as a person. There's a percentage of the population that have that narcissistic tendencies that go, everything I do is perfect. But the
Yeah,
bulk majority of us creatives are like, man, I do not like the sound of my voice. And you'd have to kind of bounce off each other, you and Aaron, to kind of go, man, you probably come up with some riffs sometimes, go, man, that's shit. And Aaron listen to it, go, bro, that's some good stuff, dude. We're using that. And you
yeah,
probably do the same with him. Whereas a solo project, you're like, when is enough, But with you two
exactly.
guys together, it probably works really bloody well.
It does. It does. Michelle, the second song on this release, it started with a riff idea that I had. That riff is not in the song anymore. It got Aaron cut it. It was just like, the song is better without it. So like it helps that we've been friends for so long. We've been
Yeah.
such good friends that we can just be like, we know it's nothing personal. It's just your part just sucks.
And it helps you across the road from each other as well. So fuck you, I like that riff,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Very
bro.
much so. That does help. Yeah.
How does that go when you sort of like, because you spend a lot of the time of with the press and that saying that compositions across like digitally across the road from each other, and some people are like, man, he's right across the road, but I actually totally get it. So
Yeah.
tell me
It's
about that
it.
process.
It helps, like just because like we mentioned, like we both have full-time jobs, and Aaron's got kids, and we just have a lot of stuff going on. So like I've got my rig is always set up next to me in my office, like where I work from home. So like I can just grab a guitar and go. Aaron's stuff is always set up in his house, so when he's got a minute, he'll go down and do it. And we use ProSonus Studio 2 is the DAW that we use. And so it's got these collaborative workspaces where we can track and upload to it. And so like I can text him and be like, "Hey, I just added a track." He opens it up and my recording is in his session and he can start messing with it. So it makes it better in the respect that we can work on our own time when we have the ability to sit down and do it. That is also why it takes us so long to get anything done. So the one weird thing about us recording, though, I will say, we do come together and we record something together in the same room is bass. Bass guitar is always we write it on the fly, and he and I, for these two songs, we're sitting. Aaron's sitting where I am right now, and he would play through it. I would play the bass, and he would just kind of produce and say, "Do this, do that, do this, do that," and that's how we've always done it on all of our recordings. Bass is something he and I both like. We both are very particular about what the bass sounds like and what the bass does.
Yeah.
And we found that the only way we can get it done is if we are in the same room together and we just write it together.
So how the different tracks, Marie, Michelle, they both carry definitely a distinct emotional weight if you get into it. Like you can take a lot of these tracks and just listen to them on face value, or I just get totally lost with instrumentals and can I kind of
Oh
get
yeah.
a little bit emotional at some points. Your mind wanders and that. It does
Oh yeah.
kind of have that emotional weight behind it. It does form a cohesive narrative to both of these tracks as well. Can you tell me about the narrative you are trying to kind of portray with these soundscapes and how you approach balancing each individual track's identities while maintaining that overarching theme?
Wow, that's a really good question. Um, so really, uh, the feelings or the thoughts or anything that were like the crux behind like when I was first started coming up with the riffs of the ideas of these songs. Marie, it was obviously a bit more based around like loss or heartbreak, loss, just that sort of feeling, and kind of like the turbulence or tumultuousness that you go through as you're going through that sort of grieving process. Whereas then Marie kicks in, and then it's kind of like that next step of the grief process of like anger and kind of how that the human processes experiences. So and really like the whole thing started with the opening riff to Marie. I just kind of came up with it, and then it just kind of slowly built and built and built. And as it built, it was like that's kind of the feeling that at least it emotes in me, and then same for Marie as well. The thing with instrumental music that I like a lot is it can kind of evoke and invoke feelings to different people in completely different ways. So to me, that's what it is. But for you or for Aaron or for anybody else, it could be completely different. And then the way that they two just kind of linked up together, that was really a lot of Aaron's doing. So I kind of had the skeletal structures and like here's kind of what I'm thinking. But as far as being able to interweave Marie into Michelle and the way it works together and then the way it flows, that was all him just through spending a ton of time editing and mixing and knowing how he could kind of like connect the two songs together. Our other releases, like the full length and the EP, like we don't like silence. We like songs to just completely always run into each other.
Yep.
And even in the few times we've played live, where there's never a silent stop. So we would, when a song would end, we would click on kind of a noise generator and then bring in the next song. We don't like silence at all. So how those two sort of dovetail together was really just the doing of how Aaron just kind of cobbled it together.
Yeah, it's unreal with instrumental music. It's kind of like I've got a lot into doom and instrumental. You know what I mean? When you have those long drawn out notes and you can kind of just get totally lost and you kind of have these different feelings, but I definitely did get those feelings of grief and loss and anger in this EP as well. And it must be fun kind of creating these different movements to create that, because you did do that with the Storm and the Stress release. I think that was
Yeah.
around 2019
Yeah.
as well, to be able to create these two part movements, you know what I mean? And not, I like the sound of that a lot better than the single, because it does kind of make you move if you kind of get lost in it. Put your headphones
Yeah.
on. You got these really good headphones. You can hear these different notes, but you can also hear the different multiple tunings. And especially with the latest release as well, it does add quite a rich depth to the tracks as well. Tell me a little bit about kind of the techie side of that and the tuning and the process behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of I'm trying to think. The EP, we had two different tunings on it, I think.
Yep.
And then the full length, the Serpent, that was one tuning, which is a super odd tuning for any like weirdo guitar players. It's open C minor, so it's just C, G, C, G, C, E flat. So the entire record was recorded in that. The singles that we put out since are either in that or which is that, but a half step down in B. These songs were in standard tuning drop B. Aaron did some of his tracks in an open B5. I played baritone guitar tuned standard B. Bass was even tuned odd. It was a drop B, but I can't remember, it was in an alternate tuning. So like when we are doing layering and layering lots of guitars, which you can hear and tell there's a ton of layers going on. something I like to do is try to like tweak and kind of, if I can get more of a droney sound for these two tracks or whatever, just to really open up the void and fill those frequencies to really just make it sound bigger. That's something that one of my favorite bands is this band Mogwai, and they do it a ton. And I saw an interview with Stuart Brathwaite, and he was saying that that's something they do. And I was like, okay, I'm stealing that from him. I'm doing that. So as far as the techie stuff, that's kind of our general like tuning sort of situation. And then effects and pedals, like we just have so much, too much. And we just fuck with shit until we like how it sounds.
Yeah. So then that also must make it tricky as well, because you did say you guys don't do a lot of live performances. It would be kind of hard. How would you go? Like, he's got any live shows coming up, and when you have played live, what was it like to kind of try and bring what you do with these releases over to a live audiences and be able to have that translate? Because it's totally different having the live set as well.
It's very different, yeah. Doing the shows that we did was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was very difficult in trying to translate from the record into the live performance. It was Aaron and I. We had three friends that sat in as a part of the live band.
Yeah.
All three of them were very good players, very quick studies. They were very familiar with the music and familiar with the songs, so they came in kind of knowing the parts and knowing what to do. But it was a very difficult thing, because it's like, well, on this song we've got 22 guitars and there's 6 differing parts. How do we decide who plays what and who does what? So that would be part of the reason we don't play live a whole lot. It's just because it's so hard to translate into live. But the live shows that we did, I absolutely loved it, and I push on Aaron constantly that I want to keep I want to play live as much as possible, but it is another huge undertaking.
It is a huge undertaking, but also the freedom that you guys have with this project and just being able to create. I could see how much fun that would be able to play these live and just kind of play them a little bit different, or play a little bit longer on this note, or just drag it out a little bit, that last note as it finishes, you know what I mean? Whatever the crowd is feeling, and kind of feed off of that emotion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the shows that we did play were all really good, and I felt we performed well. It sounded good. The crowd enjoyed it. I was amazed by how many people actually came to listen. It's like, wow, people actually do listen to us. That's cool. But yeah, it was fantastic. I hope that we do. If it were up to me, we would, but I'm only 50% of it.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I'm hoping as we are continuing to write and record. Even since this EP has come out, we're still continuing. We always write and record. I'm hoping that we'll continue to keep putting stuff out, maybe in a bit more timely of a manner, and then I'm going to keep pushing to try to play shows as much as we can.
Yeah, so how do you see yourselves evolving and pushing forward as you go? Because there has been an evolution with you guys since you kind of that Follow Me As You Ghost back in 2013. It's been the same, but you've kind of seen this little bit of a mark of evolution with every release, which is really good to see, and for you as a songwriter as well.
The evolution, it's kind of hard to start. A lot of it, honestly, is going to play off of the stuff that we're listening to currently, or the stuff that's really getting to us. Aaron listens to a lot of just absolute like brutal death metal, and and also, funnily enough, he's a mailman or a postman. So if you see a short postman blaring cattle decapitation or Whitechapel or something, it's him.
He'd be loving the new release then, eh?
Yeah. So he listens to a lot of that stuff. I listen to more of we both love, like I said before earlier on, Russian Circles, ISIS, Cult of Luna, bands like that. So a lot of it will play into what we've been listening to recently, and then a lot of it comes from new equipment that we've gotten, and it just kind of, we're always going to try to continue to push push our abilities. So recording, I'm trying to think, Michel, that one was really difficult for me just because the parts were just difficult to play. And so one thing that we have always done is we try to write things that are challenging for us to play, that we like the way they sound, but they're not easy to do. It's a difficult time signature. Aaron has he can hardly hit the drum part maybe once, that sort of thing. So as far as the evolution, we're just always going to continue to try to push ourselves into writing and tracking stuff that is continually challenging for us, that still sounds interesting to us, but that also plays into other releases or other stuff that we're listening to that just really strikes a chord with us.
Yeah. What message are you hoping people take away or from Marie Michel, if any? Are you just hoping they enjoy the release and get lost in it and create their own emotions and feelings? Because that's one thing I've always enjoyed with instrumentals, but is there one you're hoping that the listener gets?
Honestly, you kind of nailed it. I'm hoping that, they listen to it. One, I hope they like it. And then with instrumental, very much kind of what you've said is they can draw their own conclusions and draw their own feelings and emotions from it, whatever it may be, good, bad, or indifferent. But if they can tie that personally to our songs, that's awesome. So like that's, at the end of the day, with all of our releases, I think that's kind of what we're after, is just have, if you're going through a rough time, a good time, whatever the case may be, if you can relate our music to that in a positive way, then that's great.
I love instrumental, so it's really good to come across you guys. I think it's an extension of my love for classical music as well. I've always kind
Okay,
of,
yeah,
yeah, I'm the same. I've been death metal, classical, all sorts of metal, but then the
yeah.
instrumental stuff is absolutely unreal. So it is an amazing release. Everybody needs to go check out Sisters of. You did mention Bandcamp. Where's the best place? Bandcamp, the best place to kind of track down your
So,
music, links. What do we need?
so it's so we run the Bandcamp. The Bandcamp is run by Aaron and I.
Yep.
Everything else is on like all streaming, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, all the major streaming places. But for anything that comes directly from us, like we actually did a cover of a Mogwai song, and we actually did a cover of an Appleseed Cast song. We
Fuck
put
yeah.
those up on the Bandcamp. We like to do, sometimes we like to just fuck around and be like, this is a cool song, we should do it.
Yep.
So we'll put that on the Bandcamp. And I monitor that quite a bit. So that's probably like the best places to go. But for any like official releases or anything, Apple Music, Spotify, and then Crowquill's like our label's website. I think he has, you can get the files for the songs off that site, or I think he still has copies of the Serpent Angel Adversary record, like the physical. It's on clear vinyl. I think he still
Yep.
has some copies of that he's trying to sell too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I can't plug places like Bandcamp enough, or jumping over and buying the music from Apple Music or wherever the hell you can buy
Yeah.
your music. I think people need to kind of remember that these streaming platforms are run by the same corporations that are making big money off the backs of musicians and arts, and nothing goes further than supporting the music scene and independent artists, like going over, buying the fucking album, even if you're only
Yep.
listening to it digitally, you get the best quality. Like, you can get it on my computer. I like download flat qualities. It's fucking can't beat it. The top
Yep.
quality
Yep.
all through Bandcamp, and you can spend your money in safe, knowing that it's going towards the artist. Buying merch, going
Yeah.
along to shows. I think that's the way we keep the fucking music scene
And
strong.
that you could not be any more correct. And when Aaron and I were both touring, like buying merch, fucking merch was the difference of like if we ate dinner that night or we just had to drive on to the the next town or whatever. And then yeah, I mean for anyone if they wanted to buy a record, I would say just to go directly to Crowquill,
Yep.
because that helps the label out, that helps us out. It's not some Spotify cunt that's taking we're paying the bands, what is it, 0.0000003 cents per spin or something, like yeah,
It's sad
it's
because it's not helping the music industry at all. And I'll probably digress a little bit, but like, you guys spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours learning your instrument, honing your craft, then creating albums and missing out time. If I'm a carpenter and I've spent years and years in trade school and I'm out making fucking cupboards and
yeah,
everything like that, I should get paid for for what I do as a job. And artists
absolutely.
keep this world going. You take out all art and for a week or two, and you see how sad and depressing your world is. Music is art and art is life, and we all need to get behind and support it. Chris,
Yeah,
this has been
yeah.
an absolute pleasure, my friend. Do you have any
Thank you.
last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there?
No, man, Jai, thanks to you for hosting and having me on. I really appreciate it. And then yeah, we just hope everybody digs the EP, and we may be very, very, very slow at putting stuff out, but just ask people to continue to be patient. We'll keep trying to put out the best stuff that we can.
That's it. Everybody go get some Sisters of. They've got Follow Me as a Ghost that did drop 2013, The Serpent, The Angel and the Adversary 2015, Adolescentia 2016, The Storm Stress we did mention, and their latest release, Marie Michel, which is a great listen. Put it in the stereos, crank it up really loud because the neighbors are going to want to hear it too. Cheers, guys.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.